So, Demetrius Cain, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming out. Demetrius Cain is with Nobleton's Distilling House.
Distilling House.
Nobleton's Distilling House.
Yep.
Okay, so this distillery house, how long you been in business now?
So we're coming up on our, actually we just hit our 7th year at the beginning of January.
Wow.
So we've been around for a minute. It was definitely not anticipated being kind of the direction we're going now. We started, it was more of my retirement plan. Like I always wanted to start a distillery. My family kind of comes from a background of a lot of, I would say, illicit distilling history. And
sure.
Which most people do. I think most people in America.
Yeah.
Like if your family's been in the United States since Prohibition, since before Prohibition, most everybody has somebody that made moonshine.
At least tinkered with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially if like people like out in rural areas, you can't like, it was such a part of life of, making beer, making wine, making whiskey. And so I started it, I was kind of getting out of the corporate world. I had a whole bunch of side hustles, different businesses that I had started, tech companies. I'd primarily done a lot of work in tech. And my wife was like, well, why don't you just start the distillery? So I took a 200 square foot garden shed and turned it into a still house.
Nice.
On my farm.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of like where it started. And then 7 years later.
Sorry to cut you off. How old were you when you were starting this 200 square foot shed or shack or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, it was pretty much a shack.
How old were you when you were doing this?
So when we legally started, I was 27.
27.
Yep.
I love how you say legally started. So, and you said you didn't expect it to be what it is today.
No, absolutely. We knew exactly where we were going.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So it wasn't like we sat there and I was like, oh, we're just going to be, it's a little hobby. For us, it was like we started with what we had. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the ability. I don't come from a lot of money. My grandparents raised me on a farm in Northern Oregon, mm-hmm. But, it's like, we were like very, very low middle class, mm-hmm. Like raised on a cattle farm, waking up at 5 a.m., working my ass off, sun up, sun down.
I feel like that's where the hustle comes from, though, because it's a perspective thing.
You know where the bottom is.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to be there anymore.
Exactly.
So it's only up from there.
Yeah. And so that's so we had very clear and anticipation of where we were going, but then those lessons come in. You start learning those lessons. You're like, man, it's harder to get to where I want to be as fast as I want to get there. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot of that, blood, sweat, and tears, hustle, grind to accomplish what you want.
So you said you're 35 now, right? Have you realized? Do you like to hustle more than the destination? Is that something? I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs throughout their journey, they realize that it's not always about getting to where they want to be. They really enjoy the process of it all.
Absolutely.
Because even whenever they get to where they had in their head, they're like, all right, what's next?
Yep.
What can I achieve next? What can I do next?
Yeah. So
is that you?
Yeah.
Can you say that's you?
Yeah. So I would say that the best way to describe like me as a person is I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I love the process.
I started using that about 6 months to a year ago. I heard it, and I love it because I think that's all entrepreneurs.
Yep. Well, I think that there's,
real entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Real ones.
There's a
the
difference. Fakes. There's a lot of people that, one of the things that cracked me up is when I started my first company, we're going back.
What was your first company?
I started a landscaping company. So when I was 13 years old.
Sounds like a traditional.
Yeah.
Sounds like the traditional beginner hustle.
13 years old, couldn't drive. Mm-hmm. I had a farm license. So in Oregon, you could get a license at 13 years old. You had a farm license.
So does that mean you can drive a truck?
You could drive a truck to and from school and to and from farm activities.
At 13?
At 13.
I'd be freaked out if I seen little Demetrius at 13.
Well, I wasn't very little at 13.
Really?
No, I'm 6'4" now. I think I was like 6 foot then.
Oh, wow.
But still, so.
Did you have the beard?
No.
The luscious beard?
No.
This was something that I was telling Demetrius when he came in. I was like, man, I love the beard. At one time, I had a beard that was mid-chest on me.
Okay.
It was massive, and it's a big respect because not a lot of people can grow beards, and not to know how to take care of them and treat them properly is a big thing too.
It is.
So I had to compliment you on the beard.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's didn't have the beard. The beard was actually like an act of rebellion against the man.
Yeah.
Because I worked in corporate finance. And
so it was after that.
tech. Yeah, so I left the industry.
They made you shave.
Yeah. Well, I pushed the limit. So when I finally left the corporate world, I just had kind of let it grow for quite a while. And that was like, I think it was like a year. My beard was getting pretty long, and my boss comes in and he says, and looks at me and says, Demetrius, we have something to talk about. And I was like, the beard, huh? He's like, yeah, how do you know? And I was like, well, because the corporate policy is 1/4 inch. And I said, it's definitely about 6 to 8 inches now. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so you going to shave it? And I was like, no, I was just waiting to see how long until you came and talked to me, and then I'd leave.
Really?
And he was like, serious? And I was like, yeah, I started multiple things. I want to go do it myself. So
yeah. Awesome. What part of the corporate world were you in? Like, what were you doing that required you to have short facial hair? Were you working with direct customers? Were you a face of a business? Were you, like, if you're working in an office where you're only working with your coworkers every single day, I could understand if you're on the news or if you're, like, making commercials or if you're doing something like that. But were you doing that, or what was your position that they were like, this guy needs to shave his beard?
No, so I'd had periodically long beards here and there. So I worked in a very, very interesting line of global finance and logistics. So I worked some overseas with different, defense contracts and stuff. So at times, like, I had longer beards then, but when you were back at headquarters, like, there was an expectation that you had to, like, clean it up. And that was like my active defiance was not, and then just doing it myself after, when somebody brought it to my attention, I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. I think I'm going to go run my own company.
There's something about being a man and just wanting to grow a beard.
Yep.
What is that? Like, what is it with guys wanting to grow a beard? What is that significance? I really don't know what it is, but I remember, like, I always wanted to be able to grow a beard.
Yeah.
And I did one time, but it's a lot to maintain.
It is. And I think that there's something, I think when you, like, break it down into, like, the chemical, like, the way that, like, we are biologically, I think that there's a lot of that too, is like, there's that act of, like, this is, like, a fundamental, like, kind of like a thing, like, some men get in, like, it's like, this is kind of a fundamental thing that men do. Mm-hmm. And
it's one of the most manly things out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
A beard.
that and shooting guns. But.
Yeah. But even women can't grow a beard. Well, most of them can't grow a beard.
I've come across a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Sure. Well, I just remember when I had a beard, I went on a trip to Gulf Shores, and I remember on my trip just going down. This is when it was at its fullest, and mine was super curly and, like, super thick.
Okay.
Like a Rick Ross beard, like real fat and thick. And all I did was get out, dry it off, and take off. Went at the beginning of it. After a while, I did get a beard straightener and stuff. But I had 12 people. From leaving my house here, I drove down. I had 12 people compliment my beard. Guys. They're all guys.
Yeah.
But they're all like, nice beard, and ask me questions on it. It's amazing what a conversation starter it is.
My wife claims that I only grow the beard for other men. She's like, you never see a woman walking up to you. Like, very few and far between. But she's like, it's always dudes. And,
yeah.
And I laugh, and I'm like, at first I was like, oh, should I be offended at that? But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, other guys are saying I don't have the freedom to be able to grow a beard like that.
Yeah.
So that's
a little envious. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you almost do it for them too.
Yeah. So I don't do any straightening on mine. Mm-hmm. Mine just kind of grows a little bit straighter. When it's short, it gets really curly. I think I've had a beard for all 7 of the years that we've been running the distillery.
It fits.
Yeah.
It fits. It's great for it. Do you beard oil it?
Well,
put any beard oil in it?
I do.
That helps a lot.
Yeah, I make my own because I'm just, like, very, very conscious of chemicals. Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure that it's, like, so I make most of my own stuff.
Sure.
And that's just kind of,
Seems to fit your atmosphere. Maybe one day you start selling some beard oil.
there we go. That'll be the next business.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back to your business. So Demetrius here, he brought me a full. This is what'd you call it? It was like a sampler kit. Portion of your sampler kit.
Yeah. So this is so as we call it, we have tasting kits.
Tasting.
So it's a example of our portfolio. So we do these are brands that we own or own a portion of, and then we also do a whole bunch of contract work. So we have people come to us. They say, "Hey, I have an idea for a whiskey. I want to create a brand." We're sampling through our barrels. We pick out a profile and then help them design their entire brand. So we kind of go from end to end, both as a contractor and then also for our own products. And that's kind of like that ultimate, I don't know, it's kind of that ultimate dream for me was being able to be an entrepreneur that owns my own company, but then also continue to be able to be a creative as well. Mm-hmm. So when people come to me and say, hey, I have this vision.
Yeah.
And being able to bring their vision from, an idea that they had or a family recipe all the way to where it launches into the market. And, we're talking, it's not just an idea. Now it's a bottle and it carries a liquid art.
So you're helping other liquor companies start their brands.
Correct.
So you'll help. Is it fermenting it? What's the process? Like what's like the process setting up, and what do you do to help them?
Yeah. So there's two different sides of it. So we are a ground to glass distillery. Mm-hmm. So we have about 2,000 acres that we manage. We grow the direct crops. We do the tilling, the planting, the harvesting, the storage.
That's a lot of land.
It's a lot of land. So we have a total of 4,000, but we only have 2,000 over here in Missouri. The other 2,000 we have 1,000 in Iowa and 1,000 in Saskatchewan,
which is
Canada.
Wow.
And we don't own the land, but we lease it.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do you got that? What's up with that?
So the reason for
seems really far to go get some whiskey.
Well, so it's rye.
Rye.
So
okay. So you're just getting the rye from them.
Yeah. So rye grows better in colder climates.
And rye is like almost looks like a wheat plant.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So it has similarities to wheat. And a lot of the farmers here just aren't set up to do rye because it's a finer grain. So it's smaller. We do a lot more corn, barley in the Midwest. We do wheat in Iowa. But so we start out with the planting, the harvesting, maintaining the farms. And then what goes from that is then we harvest, we mill it. So we mill it down into the correct, to where you release the grain sugars. And then we cook it, which is in our big stills. We have cooking vats. So you have to bring it to a certain temperature where it breaks those sugars down to where the yeast can consume it. And then we transfer it to fermentation tanks where it sets for about 48 days. So that's another thing we do a little bit differently than most. We do a long fermentation. So long fermentation, it creates a much smoother palate feel, but it costs a lot more money to do it that way. We ferment it, then we distill it. We build all of our own stills too. So when we started out, we didn't have the so to buy a distillation column. It's a couple $100,000, and didn't have a couple $100,000. So we bought their massive pieces of copper and the big old columns, and we just. So I grew up welding and doing a whole bunch of machining work. So I just cut them down and welded them together and started going. So and they're big. They're about 11 feet tall and weigh thousands of pounds. And they're bigger than they are. They are bigger today than they were when we started.
Sure.
So then we distill it, age it in Missouri-made barrels for a minimum of 4 years, up to a maximum of however long we want to go. So we've got barrels that have been aging for a long time.
So it's a long process.
Yeah.
Like 4 years.
Yep.
To set something up now and be like, all right, 4 years from now,
yep,
we're going to start making some money.
Yeah.
That's minimum.
Correct.
Some are much longer.
Oh yeah.
So that's a long game process. You really got to be in it for the long game. You got to really want it. It's not something you just start up tomorrow and hope to be making profit by the end of the year.
Well, and that's where it comes in the contracting, though. And so what we provide is a service as well to people that do want to just do that, where they say, hey, I want to have a whiskey brand out by the end of the year. We already have the product. It's already been aging.
Yeah.
And so there's, it takes 4 years for me to start making money. Now, a lot of distilleries will just source it. So a lot of distilleries, their first year, they'll just go buy somebody else's whiskey, put it in a bottle, and sell it to you with a good story. Mm-hmm. We didn't do that. So we've been in business for 7 years, and we just launched our whiskey. So our whiskey, we've been aging for all that time.
These are all your personal brands, right?
Correct.
Planter's Whiskey right here, Ozark Highlands is your first one?
That's the first whiskey.
First
whiskey. We started with our rum,
okay,
which my family grows down in southern Louisiana, in St. John's Parish, Louisiana. And so we grow the sugar cane for the rums. We started with the rums, and then we went to our other white spirits, our People's Gin. People's Vodka actually wasn't started. That just now launched. And then the whiskey came out later.
So,
yeah, last spring.
And then what's this orange liquor over here?
So the orange liqueur, this is a family recipe. It's based upon a really old family recipe from my family in Louisiana. And it's based on a type of fruit from the island of Curacao called a Laraja orange. And so this has been passed down in generations. And we wanted to bring this out because it's a popular thing to put into cocktails and all these different things. Similar to this one, the Laban.
Okay.
So this is a contract piece that we have another company that we work with that distributes it and sells it. But this is based upon my family's recipe for, so in Louisiana, we have a tradition where when you're out gator hunting, everybody has their own family moonshines. And you trade bottles of your family hooch back and forth. So so ours is based upon a sweet corn whiskey. And so it's a sweet corn whiskey, 21 spices, two types of orange, one of which is the Satasumas orange, which is only grown in Louisiana. And so what you do is you end up, when you're going around, you're hunting gators, you come across other hunters, you trade bottles of your family hooch back and forth. And it's a way to kind of like respect each other's territory where they're hunting. And it also is a way for them to know what your family's mark is. So my family's mark is the snake-tailed gator. So if you look at the gator on the bottle.
Yeah, it looks like a snake on the end of it. Yeah.
And so that's what we mark all of our crab pots with. All of our boats have that painted on them. Not that as intense. Obviously, it's more of a stick figure style. But that was kind of the idea behind it. We wanted to bring that to market because it's something that goes really good with tequila. It goes good with whiskey. And it's a lot of family heritage. So these two are family recipes. And, well, technically everything we have is family recipes, but that's why we do the two liqueurs.
These come from generations in the past. Yeah. This is your generation.
Correct.
So can you explain this for me? Because, and I'm sure there's some other people who are going to get this useful information out of it too. Can you explain the difference between rum, whiskey, vodka and gin? They're kind of more explanatory, but like, what's the difference between rum, whiskey, and bourbon? Even.
Yeah. So what it comes down,
I don't even know what a liqueur is.
Yeah. So I'll kind of explain. So it comes down to a legal definition. So the federal government, through the TTB, they have definitions based upon mash bills. So a mash is what is the beginning substrate? So the fermentable substrate. Is it grape? Is it a fruit? If it's a fruit, it's a brandy. If it's distilled, or it's a type of wine, if it's fermented and then clarified and drank. If it's made out of sugar cane, then it's a rum. Mm-hmm. If it's made out of grain, it's a whiskey. Bourbon.
So the different grains, like rye.
Yep. So rye has to be 51% rye. So it has to be made from 51% of the mash build. So if you have 1,000 pounds, 510 pounds of that has to be rye. Minimum.
Gotcha.
For it to be a rye whiskey. Now, if it's a high rye whiskey, it's a category within rye whiskey. High rye, I think, is typically over 70%. Bourbon is another one of those categories within whiskey. So not all bourbons are whiskey, but not all bourbons are whiskey, but not all whiskeys are bourbon.
Yeah.
So bourbon has to be made from a minimum of 51% corn. It has to be aged in a new charred oak barrel. And and I don't think they have a definition of how long it has to be aged to be called bourbon, because there are people that only age it for a few weeks. It's not good, but it's short aged. But a straight bourbon has to be a minimum of 2 years. And like if you have a Kentucky straight bourbon, would be that it was fermented, distilled, matured, and bottled in Kentucky for a minimum of 2 years from a single season.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of like weird little nuances within the industry. Mm-hmm. Kind of a fun one with ours.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
that brief description of it really helps a lot.
Yeah.
Just help me understand it, because I've never really had anyone explain it before.
Yeah.
And I grew up and I would drink beer, but never really had any like formal education on it.
Yeah.
And so that really helps a lot. I think
Absolutely.
that'll help a lot of other people too when they're trying to understand like what they're trying to pick out.
Yeah. And it's really cool. It's so I grew up around it. My grandfather made a lot of family beer, a lot of farm beer on the back home. And then he would walked me through different, techniques for doing other things. And so it was something that I've always been interested in since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But figuring out when to actually start was a huge piece of it. So, yeah.
So what about price-wise? What is someone looking like when they're buying each bottle? Does it...
Yeah, so it varies. A lot of our white spirits are in the high teens, low 20s. Mm-hmm. Our aged, our rum 103, which is our 4-year-old rum, the red label rum 103.
Gotcha.
This is right in the $40 range. Our Planters Ozark Highland whiskey, which for all the Missouri listeners out there, that's cool thing about this. Last year we actually had a law passed in the state of Missouri that created like bourbon. The Ozark Highland is actually a category of whiskey now that's unique to only Missouri. So for it to be Ozark Highland, it has to be a minimum of 4 years, aged, fermented, distilled, matured, and bottled in the Ozark Highlands, which we're in the Ozark Highlands.
Cool.
So
Ozark Highlands is a type of whiskey now.
Type of whiskey that is legally protected in Missouri state.
How cool.
law. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm sorry if I cut you off somewhere. You want to continue on with what you were saying?
Yeah, so that's so this is like right around 40. Our liqueurs are like 25 to 27, right around there, depending on the retail. And then, like I said, the gin and vodka, I think this one's like 17, and this one's right around like 24, 25, something like that.
So very competitive with
Yeah.
any type of like
Absolutely.
shelf liquor that you're going to go into a
Yeah.
liquor store and pick up, or Walmart, something like that.
Correct.
Surely you sell this at local businesses,
Oh, yeah.
though.
Yeah, so we sell it all throughout the state of Missouri, Kansas. We're moving into Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas now, and Illinois. It takes time because it's a 3-tier system. So just because I'm a manufacturer, I can't just go sell it in the state. I have to work with a distributor in the state that then has to sell it to a liquor store that then has to sell it to a person.
Why do you have to work to a distributor?
It has to do with federal and state laws.
Okay.
There isn't a law there isn't a state that really allows us to sell directly to the consumer. Because it's a controlled substance.
How when you buy a bottle of, I just bought a bottle of Class Azul off of offline.
Yep.
How's that work? How can I just buy it, put it in my birthday, and then they ship it to my house?
Because there are some gray areas.
Sure. Well, I haven't got the bottle yet.
Yeah.
So who knows but I have bought wine offline before.
Yeah. Wine and beer are different because of the alcohol content. Yeah. So everything is broken into a category. So we have it's considered a high proof distilled spirit. So anything over like 7%, 7 or 14 on that. Yeah. There's someday I hope all the laws like they look at them again and kind of go back and fix some of the things. Cause it's kind of in this day and age with a digital age where you can listen to a podcast anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
If I'm a manufacturer, I should be able to sell you the product that I make. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy that you have to find a distributor to distribute your product. Because doesn't that take profit out of your pocket?
Yeah, like 30%.
Yeah. If you could just sell direct to the consumer, it would be so much better.
It would not
so
only
much better. Is that even English? Proper English?
Yeah, Doesn't really matter.
Not even drinking yet. Yeah. Still already messing up my English.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. We fight with that all the time, trying to figure out what is the, it's like, how do you get into these different markets? What kind of social media to even use? Because if you're doing social media and you're paying for social media advertising, if somebody's looking at it from a state they can't get it from you, then what's the point?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a fascinating endeavor. Things that you never think about when you start the company. Mm-hmm. That 7 years in.
Yeah, you don't know until you get started, and you're going through it, and you're like, oh, I can't even sell this to my customers.
Yeah,
I got to find somebody to sell it for me.
Yep,
that would drive me insane.
Yeah,
you could start your own distributing company though, right?
In most states, no. So if you own a federally regulated, so I own a distillery.
Yeah,
I cannot also own a liquor store. I can't own because
what?
Yeah, I can't own a liquor store or a bar. Now, could you own one through a subsidiary and a different company? And
yeah,
sure. People do it all the time. But it's regulated because then it defeats the competitive, so it can create a monopoly of your own spirits in your establishment. Mm-hmm. And so they don't even really like family members.
So stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of distilleries out there that you can go and have tastings, and then they sell the product directly. You can buy a bottle there. How is that possible?
Yeah, so if you own the distillery, you can have your own tasting bar and a retail shop in your own distillery, and it operates as your own, as an arm of your own manufacturing facility. So that's completely
some weird hoops to jump through.
But some states you can't even do that. So some states require that you sell it to a distributor and then buy it back from them to be able to sell it in your own bar.
That's nutty.
Yeah,
that is
luckily
insane.
Missouri's not that way. Missouri's actually pretty relaxed.
Do you think it'll ever go that way?
We have a tasting room. Right now it's all private.
Mm-hmm. Can I stop you real quick? Yeah. Where is your facility at?
So we are just outside of Union on Highway 47. If anybody from the Franklin County area knows
Washington side.
Edge.
Okay,
yeah.
Competitive Edge side.
Competitive
so Washington
Edge,
side.
We're right behind Competitive. We're right across the street from Competitive Edge.
Gotcha.
And that's a gym for anybody wondering.
Yeah,
it's a gym out there.
Yeah, so. It's a large one. So you're in between Union, Missouri and Washington, Missouri.
Correct.
Right off the main highway.
Yep.
Highway 47, right off the main highway. You're up on the hill.
Yeah, so we're up on the hill on the back.
Is that by Happy
side.
Apple?
Yeah, so we're right behind Happy Apples. Mm-hmm. So one of my business partners owns him and his wife. She owns Happy Apples.
Okay.
So Ed Reedy runs it. And
you should get them on the podcast for me.
Yeah, I can do that.
You should tell them.
There you go.
Would help me out. I'd love to have them on.
Yeah.
It'd be a good conversation too.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we try some of these out today?
Absolutely. So what would you like to start with? So typically we start with white spirits before we go to aged, depending on the category.
I'm down.
So yeah, I'm gonna kind of move the microphone here.
Yeah, that's fine. Move it all around, do whatever you got. I'm gonna just reorganize these a little bit, but in the fashion that you had them.
Yep.
Because you definitely had them categorized so people could kind of see. I'm gonna move your energy drink there. When someone's going for a tasting, what are they looking for?
Well, it depends on the category of spirit. So if we're talking about we do a lot of wholesale. So we sell to a lot of bars in St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield. Our primary customer is bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
And so typically what we're trying to do from the bar's perspective is we're trying to present to you a different option other than some of the big name brands. Mm-hmm. That our spirits have a little bit of uniqueness to them. They're locally made. We make them from start to finish. We do long fermentation. We have all of these selling points, but the bottom line really comes down to price. Anybody that's a business owner is it price competitive. So we really approach it from the price competitive part and how we can integrate into the menu. Because if you own a bar, sure, you might buy one bottle. But if you don't put it on your menu, it's never going to sell.
Right.
So we really work hard to, for us, and I think this is how for every single person that owns a business, it's a change in mentality of, it doesn't matter what you make, It's how good you are at customer service.
Yeah.
So it's
huge.
So if you go to somebody and I say, what is something that you struggle with as a business owner that owns a bar that I can help you with? So that means you struggle with marketing. Well, how about we do help you out with marketing?
Marketing for your product?
Yeah, well, marketing for my product, but in tandem with your company. So we try to make multiple posts a week. We do these different things. We try to include them into it. If you need bar furnishings, well, how about we come in and bring in some cool ass posters?
Yeah.
Menus, okay, so menus cost money, a few, 25, 30, 40, 50, 75 cents a menu. That adds up when you have to print a few hundred when you have razor thin margins. And so it's things like that we try to really go in and say, instead of just saying, hey, you should buy my stuff because it's cool and it's made in Franklin County, we try to go in and say, hey, it's cool, it's made in Franklin County, it's really good, and also how can we help you?
Yeah.
So that's how we approach it.
I will say I sell 2 products at my gym.
Yeah.
I can move this down too if you want to slide down a little bit. And it helps. They have, whenever I sign up with them, and I was working with them, they have like a Google Drive, and they put all their marketing and advertising on it. And they're like, at any time, you're more than welcome to go pull it from there.
Yeah.
But, because I try to advertise every day for my business, and I always try to come up with my own creative stuff, but some days, like I'll be on vacation here very soon, I might just go to their website, steal their caption, take their marketing, and throw it up on my page, and it takes away the work from me. They're paying a marketing team already, and it's going to work just the same, just as good for my business. So it really helps me out a lot there. Yeah. I like to do stuff because I like to be creative, and I like to be involved with my business, and I actually enjoy it. But it does help take some of the load off of me, to do that.
So we use Dropbox. Same thing. It's kind of more geared towards like digital. Like Dropbox has a really nice function where we can have a lot more digital assets in there. So that's what we actually do per state. So if if somebody buys our stuff, we have all of our digital files for our logos. We have digital files for pictures, marketing material that we've taken. So if somebody even wants to just go in and say, hey, we don't have a professional picture of a bottle or a cocktail, they can go in there and they can just search. And they can say, hey, we need a Mai Tai today. We're putting a Mai Tai on the menu. Well, they can take my Mai Tai picture and just put it in there. It has my logo on it. Boom. And they drop it in there. Now they can put a cool caption.
Cool.
Because we found that it's like taking good pictures is really difficult. And it costs money.
Yeah.
So, like you get, so yeah, so we do very similar.
And you got to have a good, if you want it to look good. I've seen some people do some like bottles, like what they do to make the liquid pour in and like splash through the glass and stuff like that. It's really cool what people can do, but it takes a lot of work.
Yep.
It's not just opening up the bottle and pouring it in a glass of ice and getting this cool advertisement or marketing deal for your website. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It takes backdrops and lighting and good cameras and multiple angles, and it's a lot to it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So you paid someone to do all that for you, or you guys have worked on doing it.
So we have a lot of partners. So we have a lot of people that kind of do the same thing for us in business. Hey, if you help us out with this, we'll help you out with that.
Cool.
So we had a lot of people help us with it, and then a lot of stuff we've done ourselves.
Yeah.
So we've got all of our own lighting rig, we've got all of our own cameras, we've got all of our own
Yeah, you've invested in equipment to do it right.
Yeah, because that was that one of the things I learned early on in business is when you're starting out, you don't have the budget to pay somebody $2,000 or $3,000 to do a photo shoot.
Yep.
And for $2,000 or $3,000, I can buy a lot of equipment that can do a lot of photo shoots for myself.
That's where the hard work kicks in, right?
Yep.
You can, if you can't afford to do it, as long as you're willing to work hard and learn, you can probably do it yourself. Exactly. There's a way to learn. Yep. It's going to take some time. It's going to be trial and error.
Yeah.
But you can figure it out for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into this tasty.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always start with on this is we start with our vodka, which is near flavorless. Because if you end with this, it's flavorless.
Okay.
So, and the one thing we finish with always is our liqueurs, and then we finish with the gin.
Okay.
The reason why we finish with the gin, for anybody out there that has ever had gin, it has juniper in it. And if you drink it before other things, everything tastes like juniper.
Oh, okay.
So we always finish with it.
Can't say I've had a lot of gin in my life.
well, this is a really good gin, but I'm also really biased.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody, I'm like, so anybody listening or anybody that's like, they're like, well, what do you think of your stuff? I'm like, it's the best stuff in the world.
Yeah.
But I'm also like the most biased person.
Yeah.
So it's like, take it with a grain of salt. Drink what you like to drink. If you support my brand, that's badass.
Appreciate it. Love you guys.
Yeah. It's like, you're cool and you're part of my family. If you don't drink my stuff, I'll still probably hang out with you and still have a good ass time. It's like, I'm like, that's part of how it is, So, so we'll start with our People's Vodka.
Okay. And when I'm drinking this, we also help me. What am I looking for when I'm drinking it?
Oh, I'll walk you through it all.
Appreciate that.
So
because I've never had anyone do that for me. I've done wine tastings. I've gone to, what's the one in Gatlinburg that's really popular? It's basically just commercialized now. It's like a moonshine deal. Somebody out there that's listening to this, you guys know what it is.
So you're talking to like probably one of the most introverted people ever. My wife says like,
oh, here, I have the power of the internet. I'll just Google it.
So if I was not married, my wife's like, what do you like? All I do for fun is start companies and run companies. I love working. I absolutely am addicted to just working. I love it.
When I tell you this, you'll be like, oh, okay, I know that one. Old Smoky.
Yeah, Old Smoky. There it is.
You've heard that one, right?
Oh, yeah. I hope everybody's heard of that one.
It's very just commercialized.
So, a little bit of fun thing about this. For anybody out there that drinks vodka, this is not fully on, like, this is on the market, but it's like slowly getting out there because there's a lot of vodkas on the market. And everyone's like, why would you make a vodka? We make the vodka simply because it's funny, because we distill it 48 times. So most people are like, oh, it's 8 times. We distill this 48 times as just a testament of quality. It's made out of 100% Missouri sweet corn, and it's like smooth as hell. So when people are like, why do you make it? And I'm like, well, it's kind of just for Missouri, just because we're here. And so anytime we have a lot of sweet corn, we make a whole bunch of it. If we don't have sweet corn, we don't make it that year. And so this is kind of just like one that we just make for our local market.
So what's the shelf life on it, though? Like on a vodka?
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Keep it bottled up, you're good. So if you make a bunch this year, doesn't sell, it's still good for next year. It's not like it's gonna go.
It doesn't go bad. That's the nice thing with distilled spirits. They don't go bad. The only thing you can have is light oxidation. So if you leave them out in the sunlight, it'll obviously make it go bad. But if you're storing stuff out in the sunlight,
It's probably not good anyway.
Yeah. You probably don't really care if you're drinking it or not. So yeah. So what you're looking for in a vodka?
Okay.
You want it to be near flavorless.
Okay.
So you don't want to have a lot of flavor to it.
The stirs or something to the stir?
So
I think you made your shot a little thicker than mine.
I did.
Okay,
I'm going to pay for it later.
Yeah, because this is probably if you do full shots of all this, you'll be feeling it.
Oh yeah. So that's why we don't. So what ours is, so flavorless, and you want to have a nice viscosity, and you don't want a lot of burn. So that's what you're looking for in a vodka.
How do you judge viscosity in vodka?
Oh, you can taste it. The way it coats the palate, so the way it moves over across your tongue.
Okay.
It has a nice thickness to it.
Because I was a painter.
Okay.
I painted cars for a living, and I tested viscosity. But I had a viscosity cup.
Yeah.
And you time it as it comes out of it.
Okay, that's fascinating. So yeah, we don't do anything like that. We don't have a cup that we pour things into. It's more about how it tastes.
Okay.
I actually build cars too, so.
So you want it to be just smooth across the tongue.
Yeah, kind of velvety, smooth. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. That was smooth. That was good.
It's vodka. So
Yeah, almost like the 5 gum. You know, you drink the 5 and it gives you that warm feeling.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it's kind of like. That was
and
good.
It tastes great in cocktails. Very few people sip vodka, so I tell people all the time, I'm like, do you normally drink it, Nate? I'm like, no. I typically have it in a White Russian or something like that.
I want to tell a story real quick for anyone that's listening. So, I here in the past year I've really ramped down my drinking. Whenever I was drinking younger, everybody I knew drank beer. Family, parents, friends, parents, anywhere you go, it's beer. You're drinking beer. I like beer. It's perfectly fine. But then I kind of went away from it, slowed down on it a ton. just for my own health and fitness. And and hangovers. My goodness, you get some freaking hangovers on it. So I switched to and you might know a little bit about this. You can tell me if this is just a myth or if this is true or not. Clear alcohol, less of a hangover. Do you believe that myth?
It depends on how it's fermented.
Okay.
So, so the way in which it's fermented, like doing a longer fermentation, less filtration. So a lot of people do what's called chill filtration on spirits. When you chill filter, you take out the fatty acids, which is what your body needs to be able to digest it properly. Mm-hmm. So when you take that out, your body will have a worse hangover. But when you leave it in, so if you notice, most of our spirits are 100 proof or higher. The vodka and the liqueurs are not, but we keep the fatty acids in there, mm-hmm. and so those fatty acids, your body can actually digest it easier, and so it breaks it down faster. You don't have as much of a hangover. If you don't have those, it goes into your bloodstream, and your body like doesn't know what to do with it. So,
so when someone's going to buy any type of alcohol, so how do they look at the bottle and be like, this is going to be a good one or not? You just got to do a little research on it before.
A little bit of research.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, so that's the first one. So now you kind of have an understanding. This is vodka.
Oh, let me tell my story. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, continue.
So I got away from beer and I started drinking silver tequila and club soda.
Okay.
And obviously, if you drink enough alcohol, you're gonna have a hangover no matter what.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you sit there and drink it all night, you're gonna have a hangover. But I switched to silver tequila and club soda just on ice, and I really started to enjoy it. Well, I went to, been dating a girl, went to her house for a family event, and her dad was like, "Can I get you anything to drink?" And I was like, "Well, I was like, sure." And he's like, "What's your drink of choice?" And I'm like, "Well, I've been doing tequila and club soda, but if you don't have tequila, that's perfectly fine." He's like, "Well, I don't have any tequila," but he's like, "I got vodka," and he's like, "I'll make you something. It's gonna be great." And I'm like, "All right," because they didn't have any club soda, and I was like, "All right, whatever you want. It's no big deal." And I let him make it, and he just pours half, and he does half and half. He does half vodka. Oh no, not even half and half. It was just vodka with ice. And he's like, just stir it and let the ice melt, and it'll dilute it like water. And he's like, it's great. And he gave it to me. And I'm not a vodka drinker. And I'm like, all right. And I don't know what kind of vodka it was. It was pretty smooth. It was actually pretty easy to drink. But yeah, it was just like one of those funny things because I was like, I thought he was gonna make me like what's like orange juice and vodka? What's those called?
A screwdriver.
Screwdriver. I was thinking it was gonna be something like that, and he just gives me straight vodka on ice. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be rough.
Yeah,
but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I recently my younger brother, he was drinking vodka, and I was like, "Do you just drink that on ice?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Huh." I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah,
but apparently people do that.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. So that's unaged. It's vodka. This is unaged white rum. So huge difference in flavor and aroma. So with this one, you're going to notice there's a ton of aroma on it.
What kind of rum is this considered this? Is this just silver?
Unaged. So this is unaged. This would be silver. This is aged 2 years in French cognac barrels. This is aged 4 years in American white oak charred X whiskey.
This is the Ducat.
Yep.
Rum.
So this is the Ducat rum.
Oh, sorry. Here, I can help you out.
Very good. See, now the pours will get lighter. So really, and we don't have to go through like every single one because we would both probably, we'd be having a much longer podcast. We'd go for like 6 hours. So this one is unaged. You're going to get a lot of floral fruit aromas on it. We actually grow all the sugarcane down in Louisiana on this one. So
you're saying floral fruit aromas?
Yeah. So
just a smell.
It's going to be like an overripe banana, and almost like kind of like those those like wild pear trees that we have, like whatever those pear trees are here in Missouri.
Yeah.
That don't really make pears.
You can't actually eat the pears that are coming off of them.
Yeah, I'm like, what kind of pear is this?
Yeah.
My wife was like, that's a pear tree. And I was like, great. And then, it's not the kind you can eat, whatever they're called.
Does it affect it that we're using the same glass for each one?
Not really. That's why there's a way you taste it.
Okay.
So that's why we're going from the white all the way up, because by the time you get to the sugared ones, it'll affect it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Taste. There's actual taste there.
Yeah.
It kind of has that like fruity. If you notice, it's smoother than the vodka, and that's 100 proof. So that's actually higher proof than the vodka, but because it has more of that, the long chain fatty acids, it is designed to have more of that flavor to it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
I haven't had rum in a long time. Been a while.
So our rum's made out of sugarcane juice opposed to molasses. Most rum is made out of molasses. It's cheaper. Ours is made out of sugarcane juice, which is a lot more expensive. But the reason we do that is because I love tequila. And when you make it out of sugarcane juice, it tastes more like tequila. When you make it out of molasses, it tastes more like your traditional rum. Has a little bit of bitterness to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Do you think you ever get into making tequilas?
So we are, one of my business partners already has a tequila company. So I will never make it, but I help out with them.
And because the only way to make tequila is with agave?
You have to make it with agave, but you have to be in the region of tequila in Mexico. So you can make agave spirits in the United States, but you cannot make tequila.
Gotcha.
And so it's kind of like one of those like bourbon types of laws where it's like they have a specific region you have to make it in. So
And doesn't agave take a long time to grow?
yeah, a long time.
Like it's not something you just go buy an agave plant seed and plant it, and then next year you're harvesting it.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's the first one. So those are the end of the white spirits except for the gin. So this one is aged 2 years in French cognac barrels. This is still a cocktail rum, but now this starts going down like more of the aging. So you're going to get caramelization, you're going to get toffee, but it's still not, as much. This is still a cocktail. We still use this in cocktails because it's not as heavy as 4 years. So yeah.
So you're saying these first three you use for a cocktail.
Yep.
You're going to be mixing it with something.
Yep.
But once we go up this line,
Sipping.
it's a sipping.
Yep.
Ah, okay. Cool.
So you get more tannins, a little bit more caramel, a little bit of oakiness, a little smoke.
Yeah.
Still very smooth. That's 100 proof too. We like high proof. We don't do a lot of 40%.
Sure.
I just like high proof.
That's just preference.
Yeah. That's
Gotcha.
just how we make it. But yeah, if you notice, it's like, still smooth. You get a little bit of that, like the banana, like the overripe banana that you kind of got with this one. Now it's kind of become creme brulee.
Okay.
It's a little caramelization there. And that's with the aging. So that's just from the barrel. We don't
Okay.
flavor it or do anything like that. So,
Sure.
yeah.
It's interesting. I like that you're telling me what's in it and like what I should be looking for, because when you don't drink it often, it's hard to know what to look for,
Yep.
and your brain instantly starts identifying as you're drinking it,
Yeah.
and it's also mixing it with the sensation that you're feeling, like the heat that you almost feel off of it, the warmness,
Yeah.
and so you get all these mixed things going on, and it helps to be able to look for those identifiers to be able to.
Absolutely.
Because if not, you're just drinking. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, so a lot of people assume because I own a distillery that I drink a lot. I do not drink a lot. I'm very kind of health conscious as well, and so for me, the making of alcohol, I love creating it. It's like for me, it's like a type of art. You have, the palette, the medium. Anybody that's a painter out there or anything like that, you have a medium. So what is your base? To me, it's like that's the grains, that's the raw ingredients. But then how you ferment them, the yeast we use the same yeast strain for everything. So the yeast, my family's been passing down the yeast since my family left Scandinavia back in like the 1500s.
How do you do that? Like, how's that work?
We've got this big, originally I got it from my grandfather, but it was on a wooden ring. It's called a yeast ring, and it's used for brewing beer. And the yeast was on it, and you just dip it in the mash, and then you dry it up. You just hang it up and dry it on the rafters, and then you use it on the next batch. We've since bred it, and now we have a tank full of yeast.
Okay.
But
I was like, how does that last?
yeah,
Okay.
so but that's how it's passed down. So this is
I'd like to come to your facility sometime.
absolutely
Check it all
yeah.
out. Is there like, how do I set up like a Time to come.
Just drop me a message. Give me a call.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah, it's a speakeasy.
Cool.
So it's pretty much by appointment only. We don't even have a sign out front. We have a little tiny sign attached to our door. That's it. It's a speakeasy. So when you walk in, it's like we've got a full bar and a full tasting room and all that stuff. I like to say that we have the most kick-ass bar in all of Franklin County. It's a 25-foot Franklin County black walnut.
Awesome.
Just one solid slab.
I've been kind of getting into doing like short vlogs.
Yeah.
Could I do a short vlog if I came and
Absolutely.
did it, did some tastings, checked it out? I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be fun. I'm the same way on the creative side.
Yeah.
I don't know why like I've fallen into doing like podcasts and YouTube and TikTok, and I don't know why I enjoy the video side of it. And I don't even have the creative mind for. I just had a company come out, Earhart Productions. They came out and did a video for my gym, just like a promo. And he has an eye for like the camera angles and the B-rolls and all that kind of stuff. I just really enjoy making the content. I don't know what it is about it.
Yeah, we kind of are the same way. We're trying to learn that side of it because we do a lot of our own content. Because there's something to creating it. You know, it's like a product.
Yeah.
And it's a product of my product, which is kind of cool. So this next one, this is 4 years old. So the difference between this to this.
So we got 0 to 4.
Yep. In the
this
rums.
is Ducket.
So this is rum 103. So this is 103 proof. So it's higher proof than everything else we've had.
Okay.
But it doesn't drink like that. So, yeah.
All right. Cheers.
You're going to get a lot of vanilla, a lot of toffee, nice esters. So esters are the phenols. It's the other chemicals that are created during fermentation that are separated during distillation. And that's where you get like the aroma or kind of that like almost that like dark caramel corn on the back of your tongue.
Sure.
That's where that's an ester. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's what flavors and aromas come from. So
I'm going to grab a bottle of water. You want a bottle of water? I think rinsing the flavor out would also help.
absolutely.
Okay. You doing all right?
Oh yeah.
Cool. You want a bottle of water?
Yeah.
This little fridge in here, I got it for $100. Killer deal. $100 for that thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's way, because I had a beer fridge out in my garage. Kept waters and beer and drinks and stuff in it. But it's like in a podcast like this, when you got to stop and grab a drink or something.
Yeah.
It's, just inconvenient.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. For hospitality reasons, it's amazing to have.
Yeah.
Worth $100 in my eyes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me take a sip of this. So what's the next one? Or do you want to discuss the Rum 103 a little more?
We're jumping to this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're done with that one. So now we're doing...
So I'm going to rinse my cup just a little bit here.
Oh, okay, sure.
Just because the rums do have a slight characteristic that's different than whiskey. And that's because rum's made out of sugar cane opposed to grains. So you kind of get a little bit more maltiness with the whiskey. And the whiskey's aged 5.5 years, so it's something that I want to make sure comes through for you. So
I'll take your word for it.
Yep. So this next one, so this is our Planter's Ozark Highland whiskey.
The only in Missouri.
Yep.
Can only get this in Missouri. Only make it in Missouri.
Yeah, only made in Missouri.
Cool. I like this. I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This is right down my alley.
So this is what we set out to make, but we had to make a lot of other stuff in order to get to here to be able to release it.
Sure.
And so this one is for anybody out there that's like a whiskey nerd. This is 51% malted corn, 22% malted wheat, 22% rye, 5% malted barley. This recipe's been handed down in my family forever, as has the yeast. And the barrels that we age this in come off of my farms.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So you can reuse the barrels.
Yes, we don't reuse it for the same thing. So when it's done being aged with whiskey, then I use it for the rum.
Gotcha.
And then liqueurs, and then we recycle them.
When you say recycle, how do you recycle? You just burn them?
No, sometimes we'll rechar and then reuse. So we'll go back in and rechar them and then use them for liqueurs or different things.
Gotcha.
Or we sell them to other distilleries to use for something they're working on. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. That was smooth.
Yep.
Holy cow.
5.5 years, 100 proof.
Great taste, too. Great taste. Because some of them you drink and it's, oh.
Yeah, it's like fire.
Yeah, this one was very smooth.
Isn't that good?
Yeah. Dangerously smooth.
Dangerously smooth at 100 proof.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me see this bottle.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I want to buy this bottle from you today.
Okay.
I had my eye on it the whole time.
Yeah, it's a really, really good whiskey.
So why is it called, why do you got Real Dirty Whiskey on it?
Because anybody that's a farmer knows how hard it is to plant stuff, and it's never a clean job.
Okay.
And so that was something that we wanted to like, and it's funny because a lot of people are like, why do you call it dirty whiskey? And I was like, because if you've ever planted, if you've ever been out there and worked, like, it's like doing anything in life. It's like, it's hard work. Mm-hmm. And farming happens to be one of those things. I grew up farming, farm to this day, and it's like nothing ever goes right when you farm. So it's like for every like 6 hours you go out there and work on something, you break like half your stuff. Mm-hmm. You're always welding it in the middle of the mud and muck. It's like I swear it's like the amount of boots I've lost in my field because I step in something that's, you know, it's like walking around with like, yeah.
Yeah, because we touched on it a little bit, but you said you grew up on a farm in Oregon.
Yeah.
And then it was college that actually brought you towards the Missouri area.
Yeah, so I went to school out in Kansas. Ended up primarily playing football for Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas. And then just kind of stayed in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. I've always kind of been an entrepreneur at heart. Mm-hmm. So being able to buy properties for nothing back when I got out of college was incredible to me because I came from Northern Oregon.
What got you into that, though? Because real estate and rental properties wasn't my first hustle, but it was my first hustle that really pushed me to where I am today. Yeah. And I owe a big piece of my success to it and the people that helped me out and showed me the way. And even if they didn't tell me it, even if like I dated a girl, her family was in it. She was really big into it. If it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would be as much into it now as I am because it's out there, but it was like seeing somebody else that they could do it that gave me the courage that I could do it too. I'm like, oh, someone I know is doing it. That means I can do it too. Yeah. It was just that bit of courage. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more to it too, but that was something that like that was like the click at first. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, it was. So I'd already had a few businesses. Mm-hmm. I'd started a couple different things. I had a landscaping company. I started a small tire company very briefly in high school, where we'd change tires, buy used tires.
Do it by hand?
No, we bought all the machines at auction.
Yeah.
So I had the landscaping company, and then I started a small tire shop. It was work.
Yeah.
So started those things, then went to college.
Sweat equity, right?
Yeah. And I realized in college that it's a lot of book answers to much harder, like much bigger questions. You know, I went to college because I was like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then I got to college and I was like, what do you mean you're teaching me entrepreneurship and yet you've never ran a company?
Yeah.
Like, and so.
It's funny you say that because I hate that aspect of school, and I hate that when you go into a bank and you're trying to get money for a business, and this person's never ran a business, and they're telling you that this business isn't going to work out, and it's like, what do you know?
Yeah,
you're writing. All you do is just write notes, improve or disapprove, and all you're looking at the numbers, but Like they don't see potential. They don't see the things that you could do. And sure, you can't put value on what could be, but at the same time, that's like what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Like where the growth is and how much money you can do. Like every company when you start out, Tesla, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, all these major companies, it was started out with an idea. Yeah. There was no profit on it to begin with.
Absolutely.
So your business, my business, it's just like, I don't know. I have a lot of trouble talking with them sometimes because I'm like, I can make it happen.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like, I can't remember who I heard say at one time was like, you can't recruit doers. You can't hire doers because people that will get bored working for you and they'll just go do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing.
Or the unemployables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't employ us. It's like, we're going to go to a point. It's like, we're going to work for it up to a point that we've recognized that we could do it on our own. Mm-hmm. And for you, it was like dating a girl that her family was in real estate that told you could do it. For me, it was working for a guy that he was, and I already had a few companies of my own, but it had never been something that was like, I was passionate about. It was, somebody needs their lawn cut. I can buy a lawnmower for $300 and I can go mow their lawn for $80. Mm-hmm. 3 days I paid for my investment.
Yeah.
And then it was like, work 2-3 weeks. Now I buy a riding lawnmower, and you start
then
doing
you buy a
this.
leaf blower. Then you buy a weed eater.
Yeah. And so to me, it made sense.
It's the exact same way.
And that's how it was with real estate for me. Real estate's not something that it's like, oh, I'm passionate about real estate. Mm-hmm. For me, it's, I can buy this, work on it, live in it, and flip it.
Yeah.
And then it was, I can buy an apartment building and I can live there, I can manage it, and I can rent all the other units to people. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like my first foray into real estate was I'd buy houses and turn them into units. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, okay, well, I can buy a single family house that has 4 bedrooms. Well, now it's a 4-unit house.
Yeah.
Put a bathroom in every single one of them, rip out, gut it, and turn it into a 4-plex. So that was like my foray. And then I started buying land, subdividing land, clearing land into housing
That's
lots.
a big thing too.
And, but it was always, it's just something to make money. It was like, I enjoy this. Yeah, it's a tool. I enjoy this. Else. And the distillery was the first time that I had like started a company I really loved. I loved the process. I loved the creativity. I like the, the brand building. I like all of that. And for me, it was, I was working for a guy that was younger than me in the tech world. He and I started the company together, and he just did it one day. He was just like, I can figure this out. And I was like, what do you mean you can just like, you can do it that way? He was like, yeah, I just did it that way.
Yeah.
So that was what really was a light bulb in my mind was, if you love doing something, you can just do it.
Yeah.
So that's really what started the distillery.
I totally agree with that. I thought I was going to go into real estate fully. Like I thought that was going to be my passion because I really liked every aspect about it. But I got into it and I still love it. But same thing, it was just a tool.
Yeah.
And then I realized that business had way more growth into it, and then we talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. I love the journey of it all.
Yeah.
I do not care about the destination anymore. I want to continuously get up every day and be able to grow and work on things and have something to chase. I love that the game of it all and growing and so that's where I was like, I need to get into business. And then I started my first and I realized how much, because I love freedom. It's 2:00 or noon on a Friday, and I'm able to leave my place of business, come here and do a podcast.
Yep.
This is the freedom that I was chasing, to be able to, and I didn't want to just go home and play video games or go out drinking at the bar. I wanted to do something else that I was passionate about. So that's why I went into business, and now that's where I'm like, I found love in business, but I'm also realizing that as much as I love my small business and my gym, there's not enough growth in it. I want to be able to market to more people. And it absolutely drives me insane that I can't advertise to people in other states, other countries. I want to get a business where I can advertise into the whole entire world, market to the entire world. I can fly to Florida and do a convention down there and try to sell to people down there. And I love that. I want to meet more people. I want to impact more people. And I want to have the freedom to be able to travel and learn and do whatever I want. And that's what I've really fallen in love with.
Well, and I think it's funny because when I started distilling, it was the same thing. I was like, this is what I'm finally going to love. Mm-hmm. Because I'd started, half a dozen, about a dozen companies by that point. So when I started the distillery, I was like, this is it. I'm going to just do this. So I sold a lot of my companies, and I took all that money, the stuff I'd been saving up, and I put it into one company. And I did it for a couple of years, and I was like, I just love the process. Mm-hmm. So for me, what's cool about the distillery is exactly what you just said, is you want to be able to market to anybody, anywhere, anytime, however they want to do it. And that's what's fun about building products, is that when you build a product and you package it up into something that you can sell, I can now go to another state, and yes, it's a 3-tier system and all these things, but I can sell a product on a shelf. I can build the marketing material. I can do all this stuff. I can market it. And once it's in that market, now I can do targeted advertising in that market.
Yes.
I can go out and do tastings. I can meet people. I can do all this stuff. And that's one thing where a lot of people are like, well, your company's name's Nobleton Distilling House. Why is that not on a bottle? And I said, because I'm not selling my company. I am selling you products. I love building a brand around traditions that I've learned or history that I've learned, but I love building products because the journey is so much fun. So it's like we launch a product and everybody's like, oh, that must be the coolest thing ever. And I go, it is. And then it launches and I love it. But now I want to build another one.
Yeah.
I want to build 10. I want to build 20. I want to build, because I love that. And I also love working with other doers that want to do that. It might be in a different area.
Yeah.
And it's fun because when you find people.
That's what I love about the podcast.
Yep. So
I get a lot of passionate, just doers, people that love what they're doing every single day, out there hustling. If they're not passionate, they won't come to a podcast.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And everybody that's came on this podcast, it's just like the vibe is amazing. And I've even thought about this, and I haven't done anything with it, but I was like, I thought it'd be cool to rent out, maybe some type of bar area or something, and we all get together, and it's just like an entrepreneurial get together where we all come together with ideas, and everybody's got different businesses, but to get all these entrepreneurs together, these passionate entrepreneurs together, just once a quarter or once every 6 months, come up with ideas, come up with things you've learned, bring stuff to the table, and also communicate and have those people around you in a circle.
So I happen to know somebody that has a bar that's not open to the public.
And that's what I was thinking in my head too. I'm like, what if we use, because it's a good central location. Yep. It's, you just take any major highway there. Would you be down for something like that?
Absolutely.
If I took my podcast and created a private page and everybody that came out, because it seems like everybody has the same passion. Yeah. Everybody has the same, really hungry drive, and they love what they do. And they're always down to learn more. And to get people together and get them connected where, we all, because drinking loosens people up. It helps people get to know each other. And I'm friends with all these people that came on my podcast now, and I still stay in communication with all of them. I think I'll have them back on the podcast one day. But I learned stuff from them just by watching them. And I love the fact that I can reach out to them, ask them questions. They all kind of have their own specialty in their own field. And they all know things I don't know. And so I'm like, I want to keep you guys close because I love who you guys are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's one of the cool things about being a real entrepreneur. There's a lot of fake people out there.
Yeah.
But being a real
entrepreneur. It's easy to spot, though. Yeah, they're just doing it for the money.
Yeah. And, or the paycheck. Early on, I was amazed at how many people I met. They're like, oh, I would start a company, but I'd have to be able to pay myself a minimum of $200,000 a year. Yeah. And I'm like, you've never started a real company now. Yeah. Because I'm like, the day that I actually take a paycheck, I'm like, well, that'll be the day that I'm so addicted to the process that it's like every time I could pay myself, I just reinvest it into something else.
Same.
And my wife's like,
it gets me in trouble sometimes because I have to stop myself and I'm like, no, you got bill, you got a house payment. Yeah. So, you got stuff that you got to get paid for first.
That's that addiction.
Yeah.
That's that hunger where it's like, you can look at profits and somebody that's not really in it, they're like, well, I just want to pay myself. I just want to have an expensive, fast, cool car. I want to have a nice, and it's like, I'm like, I would probably live in a tent on my farm if I could put more money in. I have kids and a wife and all these things. So my wife is like that sounding board of No.
Yeah.
You can't just put everything back into your company. But it's when you look at it and I go, well, if I make $100, what can I generate from that $100?
Yes.
If I make 1,000, like, what can I generate from that 1,000? Because there's something to that, like, nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, it's like, holy shit, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
So,
You got to get to that mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Where you really, truly believe in that you can do anything.
Yep.
Even if you can't do it, you believe you can.
But you can find people. You can find people that can help you do it.
That's
you,
the Henry
like,
Ford method, right?
Yeah. It's like find people. If you
pay
can't
people
figure it
smarter than
out,
him.
you know, if you can't figure it out, find somebody. You know, because like we walked in and the first thing we were talking about, like when I first walked in, is I started looking at all your equipment. I was like, oh man, this is easy. Like, oh, you can do that. You did this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, like being an entrepreneur is, and even surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs, is that you see that somebody else can do that. You're like, oh man, how can I tweak this to be my own? But I can learn lessons that you've already learned.
Because you said you were thinking about starting, and I'm like, you should
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
It's great. And there's two types of people in the world. There's going to be the ones that are like, you don't want to do that. It's too much work. Nobody's going to care about it. No one's going to like it. You get those kind of people around you, and they're like mud, and they'll drag you down, and they will just beat you up, and they will make it so hard on you. But yeah, you get these entrepreneurs around you that just keep pushing you up, and you have one bad day, and they're just there, and they're like, brush it off.
Yep.
It's part of life.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward. You got this.
You know, and that's the thing that's so cool about, and that's what I always tell people is I'm like, when you meet an entrepreneur, like somebody that's actually just in it for the fun, like they just love the journey. You want other people to succeed so much that it's like you just like
It's radiating off of you.
because like
I've pushed people away before.
Yeah.
Because I pushed too hard.
Yep.
Something I had to learn early on when I started doing it is that I wanted my friends to keep pushing harder, and I believed in them more than they believed in themselves. And I realized that they weren't ready for it yet, and I actually pushed them, like, not that they hate me now, but I definitely pushed them away, and I had to realize, like, oh, they're not, one, they don't think like you.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have that passion as you, or maybe they're just not ready for it yet.
And you know, the thing is that's okay.
That is,
you know,
okay.
there's a reason that there's only a small percentage of people that like have that like dogged addiction to this, because that's what like
it grows too, though.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. And
Doesn't
sometimes it's
always
like
start out
sometimes
like
it's a moment that inspires you. You know, because my wife is not an entrepreneur at all. My wife is somebody, she's one of the smartest individuals I've ever met. She loves working for somebody. She likes going in, leaving, coming home at a certain time. She likes knowing how many hours she's putting in. And being married to me, she's like, well, when are you coming home?
it's very hard to date an entrepreneur.
It is. It is. But when you find those people, like my wife, like over the process of starting multiple companies, she now like gets it. She's like, I can see that fire in you. And she just like has like certain check-ins. She's like, okay, you need to be home for dinner. Check in at dinner.
Yeah.
Eat with the kids. Hang out with all of us. But I don't care how early you start your day. So my day starts at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So that I can just like grind. You know, so it's like I work 18-hour days every single day.
Wow.
But
Impressive.
But it's awesome, you know, because it's like
Because you're doing what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, it's like I run full time. I run 3 companies. So I do the distillery, and then I have 2 other companies that I run full time. And it's like I'm doing all 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
And
But, well, before we talk too much on it, because we talked about ADHD and how it probably plays into it, that was before the podcast. Let's finish out this tasting.
yeah.
Let's finish out the tasting. Because I know if we get on that
ADHD.
tangent,
Yeah.
it's going to be a tangent for a minute.
Oh, it will be. So
We'll be talking.
We're gonna move over to the Ducket
Okay.
Curacao Noir here, and
I thought the liqueurs were last.
they are. We got to the whiskey, and then we'll do the liqueurs and then the gin.
I
Gin
gotcha.
will be before
I
after
gotcha.
everything. So these are 2 separate liqueurs. And we talked briefly about your enjoyment of tequila. So one of my buddies, I'll get you connected.
Yes, please. I was thinking that in my head. I'm like,
because-
I want to need to know who that is.
Oh yeah, because he's my business partner with this one.
Okay.
So this one is not wholly owned by me. So this is a Curacao. So it's made with 21 spices and herbs, 3 types of orange, and it is sweetened. So when you drink it, you're going to notice it has sweet. Anything over 2% sugar added is considered a liqueur. Different spelling from liquor. Liqueur is Lequuer, and liquor is OUR. So
Okay.
and
So what's the difference?
sugar.
The sugar
So anything over 2% by volume, if it's added in there, it should be called a liqueur, not a liquor, or not liquor.
So these are liquors.
Yep.
Ththese are liqueurs. Higher sugar.
Correct. Yep.
And sugar, is that part of what gives you a hangover too?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends. Usually it's because of the amount of alcohol you're drinking. Sugar gets it into your system faster. So if you're drinking a bunch of mixed drinks, you're gonna get
Because it's spiking your insulin levels.
Yep.
Rushing it in.
You're gonna get drunk quicker, and therefore it's going to throw off how much alcohol your body can take because it's trying to digest the sugar and the alcohol.
Gotcha. Because any liquid actually has to absorb through your blood, right?
Correct.
Processes through your blood first.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay.
We use this in margaritas, old fashions, the works.
That was good. That was
Isn't that
very
nice?
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the orange. I'm sure it's the orange I taste.
Yeah.
Much sweeter.
Much sweeter, and also we sweeten it with sugarcane juice. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be lightly sweetened. The next one you notice it as well.
If anyone drinks like coffee black with just sugar or like a sweet tea,
Yep.
it's kind of what I taste.
Yeah.
Like it's like a sweetened.
A little bit of acidity. Nice orange. Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. I like
So,
that one.
Yeah. So this one, like I said, is... I thought I'd opened all these, but now I just keep pulling out my knife. So
You know, I'm surprised I don't have a knife on the table here. Maybe I need to
you got a lot
invest
of
in
other
one.
stuff.
Yeah, I do. Oh, I just got it for conversation piece. Anything that I'm kind of into in my life,
Yeah.
I try to throw on the table. Like I plan on buying a couple of these bottles because I really want to keep them out
Absolutely.
on the podcast for
Well, I
people to
appreciate
try.
that. So this one is also a liqueur. This is made on a sweet corn whiskey base. This is used in margaritas. If you do 1-to-1 with this to tequila, we call it gator juice. So 1 ounce to 1 ounce over ice. It's called gator juice.
You do 1-to-1 with tequila? That sounds dangerous.
And it's really good.
Really?
Yeah.
All
so
right.
it's a really popular one. We also do 1-to-1 with whiskey. Obviously, usually our whiskey. And we call that
I'm kind
swamp
of interested
water.
in trying it with some tea the other day.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
I'm going to try one with this, and then I'm going to get some. Is it a insult to put
No.
certain kind of tequila in it?
No, we typically do like, we do white tequila.
Because I'm out of Clase
Yeah,
Azul.
I wouldn't put Clase Azul in it because of the price point of that stuff.
Yeah. It goes so quick on the podcast. Because a lot of people have never tried it. And so I'm always like, yeah, let's try a shot. And it goes very quick.
So I can't wait for you to meet Zach, my buddy. He's gonna blow your mind with some of the tequila he brings out.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. We should get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Cool. Would you come back out with him?
Hell yeah.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
Ooh, that's very sweet.
It's sweet, but it also has a lot more spice.
Not like too sweet,
No,
but
no.
it is.
It's so smooth though. That's still 80% alcohol. That's still 40% alcohol,
Wow.
and you don't taste a burn with really either of these.
No, you don't. There was hardly any burn.
So that's why we say
That one is sweeter though.
it is sweeter. Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's slightly sweeter, has a higher viscosity, but that's why you typically. I know people that sip this one. Mm-hmm. I don't sip it personally, but this one is designed specifically for mixing.
Okay.
So yeah. So try it with some tequila now.
Yeah.
And I'll probably take a little bit of tequila too.
Let me grab a. You got a preference? Cabo 1800, or do you know what this is?
Herandua.
You got a preference?
I'll take that one.
You want this one?
Yeah.
I think Cabo's the cheapest I got, really.
Yeah. So this is obviously not an ounce.
Yeah.
We're just trying to.
Try to simulate.
Yeah, we don't want to be
That's
drinking 2 ounces of
Yeah. Right.
40% alcohol.
And what's this called again?
This is called Gator Juice.
Gator juice. Cool.
So we drink this down on the farm in Louisiana.
And this is just something you guys made?
Yeah.
Like this is like
This is like a family cocktail. And so when I was trying to explain it to people, I was like, it's just 1-to-1 tequila. And they're like, how do you drink? And I'm like, trust me, it's really delicious. And then they try it and they're like, why do you not more people know about this than? So, yeah.
very delicious.
And dangerous.
And dangerous. Yeah. That bottle, it's called Laban.
Yep, Laban. So for anybody out there that, so my family's Cajun. So we speak French. Cajun, I don't speak French because it was looked down on in the 1920s. So my great-grandfather never passed it down. But Laban it means the good. So it means the good liqueur.
Oh, cool.
It's based upon a Cajun saying in Louisiana, which is laissez les bon temps rouler, which means let the good times roll. And that's kind of like how every Cajun lives. And that's why we put it on the bottle was like, let the good times roll. Let's hang out. Anybody that drinks together, we're friends.
I like it a lot. I'll probably try to grab that bottle off you too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
should we rinse?
we should definitely rinse because the last one.
So now we're moving the gin.
Yeah, so the last one is gin. So kind of a fun thing about People's Gin. So People's Gin, I'm not a gin lover. A lot of people are like, oh, you must love gin if you make a gin. I am not, which is why we made it.
Refresh me on what gin is again.
So gin has to be made, so it uses vodka as the base. And then it has to be distilled with juniper. So you distill it. It can be any base, but it has to be distilled neutral or mostly neutral. Ours is neutral. And then you distill it through a gin basket, so a basket of botanicals. But then you don't sweeten it. So ours is made using a sweet corn base, distilled neutral, and then we use wild Ozark juniper. And all of our botanicals are actually harvested wild in the Ozarks. So anybody that's out in Franklin County, you probably have an uncle, an aunt, or somebody in your family that talks about bathtub gin. Okay. So when we started collecting all the botanicals, everybody started giving us bathtub gin recipes. So I was like, well, what if we just make this into our gin? So it is based upon 1,500 Ozark family bathtub gin recipes. We distilled them down into like a single recipe. Mm-hmm. We looked at all the recipes and then made our own from those. But it's kind of a fun thing because a lot of people are like, why did you make an Ozark Highland gin? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, because all the people started, and that's where the name actually comes from. That's why it's People's Gin. Yeah. Because people gave us their name, their recipe.
1,500 different families gave you that recipe. Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah.
That's a cool little story behind it. Yeah, I'm down to try it. Is it supposed to be smooth? Smoother than vodka?
Okay. This is smooth. Not all gins are smooth. So when a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like gin because it's not smooth. This one happens to be pretty smooth. Mm-hmm. It's more of a sipping gin. You can also mix it and do all the stuff with it. We have a lot of restaurants that use this. It's very popular, but it's been out for about almost 2 years now, and it's very, very popular.
Proof? What's the proof on it?
47% alcohol, so it is 94 proof.
Perfect.
So you're going to get juniper on the nose.
That's what that is, that smell?
Yep, that's juniper.
Smooth.
Yeah.
It is smooth.
Juniper, botanicals, so you're going to get a little citrus, a little dandelion.
I do taste a little citrus.
Yeah, slight citrus. We get that from sumac.
Okay.
Sumac actually produces citric acid. So we use the edibles kind. Some people out in Franklin County are like, well, it's not the poisonous kind.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know nothing.
So, yeah, there's 3 types of sumac that grows wild here in Missouri. Mm-hmm. You have the poisonous kind, and then you have the sweet sumac, and then you have the Matterhorn sumac, which is also edible. So,
is sumac is it a green plant?
It pretty much grows all over the hedges. And if you have a fence row,
yeah,
you've got sumac probably. So ones that come out late August, bright red berries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it grows like a weed. It's invasive.
I was definitely thinking like something like that, but I was thinking more.
It's like really green though to begin with.
It is. Oh, it is.
And then it blossoms.
I was kind of thinking like a poison ivy, but in a vine form.
No, not that.
No.
Yeah, it's not
spikes
a vine.
on the edge.
It's just little shoots that come up in the hedgerows.
Gotcha. Okay.
Really bushy, and then they spread like.
I heard about it. My uncle was really big into like Guardian and stuff, and so I'd recognize what it was, but I wasn't really. I would never really got too into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, so that's the whole lineup.
It was delicious. It was great. I would say I'm definitely going to grab 2 bottles off you. I'm going to get the Planters, Ozark Highland, and the Le Bon for sure. Those are great. I would say anyone looking at like a liqueur, I would actually think this is the better one, especially if they're wanting to sip on it.
Yeah.
That one will almost be too sweet if you're wanting to sip on it all the time.
This is too sweet for sipping.
It's not like extremely sweet, but it is.
It's designed to be put in cocktails. So, like, it has a margarita recipe on it. The margarita is super easy. You know, it's 1 ounce of this, 1 ounce of tequila, and then 1 ounce lime, and then half a ounce of agave syrup. And you don't need anything else. Like, that's it.
Agave syrup.
Yeah. So, well, like, yeah, you know, like agave, if you go to the store and buy it, you just put agave syrup in it, and it's good to go.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic margarita. But it's designed to be mixed 100%. That one is kind of a family. It's made with rum. It's the Ducat Carousel Noir. It's made with rum. And it's based upon, typically we just sip that on the farm. So it's kind of like after dinner, like kind of an...
I could easily see how you could do that.
So it's like...
This is a lower proof, though.
No, so that's 40% alcohol. This is 40% alcohol.
Okay, both 80 proof.
Yep, both 80 proof. So, yeah, 80, 47, and then hundreds for the rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think some people are going to learn some stuff about it, too. I know I certainly did. Where's the future of the company going? What do you got planned?
We're just expanding. So we're doing a lot of expanding. We're kind of...
expanding for...
multiple states. So we're adding 6 new markets this year. So we've been in Missouri and Kansas. We're adding Louisiana, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Illinois, Florida, Oregon, probably, Nevada. So
can I cut you off real quick? I'm just thinking about, there's a lot of people listening to the podcast that are from this area. I don't know if you call it regional area or just community or however you want to describe it. But I feel like, you know, we record the podcast in Rosebud, Missouri, but a lot of people from Washington, Union, St. Clair, Owensville, Gerald, Rosebud, Bell, sometimes Rolla, Jess City.
Yeah.
Do you sell any of these products in any bars around there? Like, where can people go to get this if they're like, I really want to try this stuff out?
Yeah.
Where could they go? Say, like, some natives to Washington, because you're up in the Washington area. Do you sell it in Washington so I could grab it?
Yes, we do. So we sell in all the Schnucks throughout the state. We sell in Hy-Vees.
Okay.
We have a lot of your local liquor stores can order it if they don't already carry it. So like Tees and Union, Tees Liquor Lane carries a lot of our products. They can also give us a shout at the distillery at Nobleton's. They can just drop me a line, stop by, pick it up at the tasting room.
Yeah.
You know, taste barrels and stuff like that too, because we're typically working, doing something. So it's pretty readily available. You can also go to our website and buy it for pickup. So if you want to look at what we've got, you can go on our website. The only one that's not on our website is the Le Bon. That one is actually on its own website.
Really? Why is that?
Because it is not wholly owned by Nobleton's, so it's a contract piece where we own it, but we also own it with.
So where do they go to get that?
They just go to the website and drop us a line. And
What website?
It's Liqueur. So it's lebon-liqueurs.com.
Okay.
And that's the website for that one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty easy to get a hold of.
No local bars?
There's a lot of local bars that have us.
Landing?
Yeah, the
Landing's a big one. They have it?
The Landing carries it. I think Old Dutch is bringing in Le Bon, and bringing in. They want to bring in Planters, but we were the smaller distributor on this one. There's a bunch of local stuff that have it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Anyone that's listening, they're like, oh, I'd really like to try that out before they go. If they want, Landing's a big one. A lot of people go to Landing. You know, if they can get there and they're like, you know, just try it out, just have a glass of it while they're there.
Also, you know, just drop us a line on Facebook or Instagram. Or
What if somebody wants to do a tasting? What's something like that cost if they want to come by and try it?
It's free.
Free.
Yeah.
Just so if they want to, you know, they're looking for something to do, but what days can they do it on Saturday?
So yeah, typically I'm working on Saturdays. I'll also in the evenings. Like I'm typically there until like 5 or 6.
I'm just thinking like maybe, maybe a group of people wanting something to do on Saturday.
Yeah.
They hear this podcast. Maybe they want to try some of these drinks out. Could they send you a message, give you guys a call,
Absolutely.
set something up where they could come in on Saturday
Yeah.
and try it all
We
out?
do that all the time.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
it's a lot of
because
fun.
I feel like a lot of people would really do that
Yeah.
if they knew it was available. I didn't know that was available.
Yeah, and if you go to our website or if you go to Google Maps, it'll tell you we're temporarily closed.
Why is that?
Just because we're not open technically to the public, like fully. Because we have a super small staff. We've got 2 full-time, 5 total. And most of all of us are in sales. So I do all the operations, distilling, bottling, manufacturing on my end. So I always tell people, I'm like, shoot us a message and we will absolutely swing by. Like my farm's only 15 minutes away. So even if I have to swing into work on a Saturday, I
You'll do it.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. So
Cool. You want to wrap this up here?
sounds good.
We're probably about an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Where do they find you on Facebook, Instagram, website? Where do they go to find
Yeah.
you, that kind of stuff?
So if you're on Instagram, you can look me up under Demetrius Cain. You can also find me at Nobletons. So that's NOBLETONS.com or on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
One word.
Do you have Nobletons have their own personal page too?
Yep.
So go find them.
You can
like them.
actually, all of our products have their own pages.
So each bottle has their own page?
Each brand. So this is
So-
Ducket is a brand family. Planters is a brand family. Laban is a brand family, and Peoples.
You really do like creating brands, don't you?
I love brands. I love it.
Cool. So they could, if they want to just follow Ducket, they could just go follow Ducket. They don't have to
Absolutely.
follow the whole Nobleton.
But I highly recommend that. You should follow all of our things.
Because you get to see some of the new stuff coming out.
Yep. If they follow Nobletons, I say follow Nobletons. Nobleton's brand posts about everything. Nobleton's also posts about all the different stuff we're working on. Periodically, I will post a video from being stuck in the middle of a field or something, and I've got nothing better to do.
Life.
Yeah, life. Nobleton's gets all of it.
People like that.
Everything else is just brand focused. So.
I think that's important to say because anyone that's looking to buy, if they like rum or whiskey or liqueur or any type of alcohol,
Yeah.
and they're looking for brands to try out that are outside of the commercially produced stuff. And I'm thinking of a girl in particular I had on my podcast, Caitlin Mace. I'm sure you'll be listening to this. I know she really loves, I'm pretty sure she loves whiskey. I don't know. I could be wrong here. But it's people get tired of the same old stuff.
Yep.
And so they want to try new local products where they're helping out actual local business. And so I think it helps to be able to follow your page. And if you come out with a new product, they're like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
I can try this out.
Well, and one
I'm
thing
becoming
I would
more and
say-
more like that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all about local. So our stills are actually made in Bleckman's in Washington. So Steve Bleckman down there at Bleckman's Welding Machine Shop, he actually builds all of our stills.
Cool.
All of our apparel is actually printed in St. Louis. So we buy American-made T-shirts for the most part. We try to. It's hard to get, but we try to support 100% American as much. All of our glasses, bottles, corks, labels, everything's 100% American.
Sweet.
I'm a huge proponent of that. And the other thing too is if anybody thinks they like whiskey, or if anybody loves whiskey, or even if you don't love whiskey, I would put a lot of money on it that you'll like our whiskey.
I totally agree. And what's really important that I think would help a lot of people is when you go into these places. Like, what was the one in Gatlinburg we were talking about? Old Smoky.
Yeah.
The people that are working there, they're just pouring tastings. They're pouring tastings all day long. And I'm not sure if they're passionate about it. I highly doubt it. They just need workers. They're not making the product. And there's no education. And there might be some slight education with it. But this right here was more education from a tasting than I've ever got. And I've had numerous in the past. And so I think that's what when people are coming in and they're very uneducated on it, they're coming to learn.
Yep.
And to have that kind of person that they can ask and trust is really important. That when people come to my gym, they come to me when they're trying to buy supplements or wraps or trying to figure out a workout program. And a lot of them never been to the gym before, but they're wanting to get started. And so it helps to be able to come to me, someone that they can trust, to be able to teach them or at least get them started in the right direction.
Exactly. And one thing that I always say is a lot of people assume because I own a distillery, it's like, oh, you must only recommend your stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like people are like, oh, I love rum. And I'm like, what kind of rum? Because there are a lot of different categories. And so, and that's the other thing too with like distilled spirits that I'll just throw out there real quick before we wrap everything up. But a lot of people assume that all this, like, oh, I had a really bad experience in college when I drank rum, so I hate rum. You probably had a bad experience with a certain type of rum, probably a cheap rum. Mm-hmm. Same thing with tequila, same thing with whiskey, same thing. And it's like, come back around and approach it from a different perspective.
Yes.
We've all grown up a bit. You know, I can say that it's like I had a horrible experience with Jack Daniels one time, and I've come back around in my, in my 30s to try it again at different expressions, and I'm like, you know what, it's not bad.
Yeah, when you're not just slamming it.
Exactly.
Just drinking it to get drunk.
Yeah.
You're drinking it to enjoy it.
And that's where I'm like, approach it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Understand that it's like you've grown up a ton. Like I'm, I can't believe, we were talking about like how much, drinking different types of things growing up when you had, and I think that it's like now approach it from like more of that, like, what are the flavors I'm getting from? Look at the process, educate yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed at like the history behind some of these brands.
That's why I really want you to explain it to me, because I'm not big into it because I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And so whenever I was talking to you about coming on the podcast, I was really excited. And that's why I asked you, can we do a tasting?
Yeah.
Because I knew this would be my opportunity to be able to sit one-on-one with someone that actually has some education and teach me. Because when Caitlin came on the podcast, she talked about this cigar lounge that she goes to, and she has some whiskeys that she really loves. And I was like, I don't understand it. I don't know that industry. And unless I have somebody teach me, how am I supposed to learn?
I'm going to introduce you to two people. I've got a buddy, my buddy Oliver, that owns Vida Novo Cigars.
Okay.
He actually just launched that brand.
Cool.
He knows, he's a wealth of knowledge about cigars, like the wrapping. He's been studying this thing for like 20, like the guy is so brilliant. And he just sat there. So I'm going to.
Think he'll come on the podcast?
Oh yeah. Ollie will come on. So yeah.
Sweet. I had, right before we wrap this up, you guys just got to listen for a few more seconds. I bought this lighter. I was at my local hardware store just picking up some stuff one day, and I seen a rechargeable lighter. No fluid, all electric rechargeable lighter. And on the package, it has this big old flame, and it's like, it looks so cool. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. It was like $10, $15. I'm like, I'll give it a try. You pop it open, and it has this little bitty thing. You couldn't even light a cigarette with that. You could maybe catch the edge of a piece of paper on fire. I was like, oh my gosh.
So you can light a match. You can light a match.
Maybe.
To then light a cigar or something.
Yeah. I was so disappointed, but I was like, that's kind of cool. An all electric.
Yeah.
All electric lighter.
That's hilarious.
So if you guys are still listening, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys could, go give Demetrius just some love on all his social media pages. Stop in sometime, give him a call, shoot him a message, pick up a bottle of something from him. He can help you pick it out. And if you guys could, also make sure to like, subscribe, share this on all social media pages. I'm at like 250 subscribers right now, roughly, on YouTube. We're going for 1,000. That's when I can get monetized. So help a brother out. But yeah, Demetrius, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.